You all good to go? Fantastic. In 5, 4, 3.
Yummy like a gummy bear.
It's the internet. You're busy. Let's do this for July 20th, 2023 for the next hour or so. Let me help you sort through the world of gaming on Game Mess Mornings Live with me, Jeff Grubb. Today, Activision Blizzard earnings provide a ton of news, and another live service game is shutting down. But first, please join me in welcoming today's co-host of Game Mess Mornings. It's Jan Ochoa, everybody. Jan, how are you doing?
Ice cream is so yummy.
Ice
yum,
cream
yum,
so
yum.
yummy. Yum, yum, yum. Get my chopsticks here. Let me monetize.
Yeehaw.
Let me monetize other ethnicities. Yeah. Hell yeah. Here we go.
That's what I'm all about.
Hell yeah. Of course. That's the only ethical thing to do. Yeah, Jen, how's it going over there? You keep it up this week? I feel like it's like, man, it's already Thursday. The week has flown by, and also I feel like, man, I got so much I have to do.
I made a list of things I have to do last night, and then I was like, oh no, the Film in 40s double feature. And then it's just hilarious trying to find a good starting point for the three of you hooligans figuring out what movie to watch and then arguing, should we Annette? And then, you know what? I'm glad you Annetted.
I think I do. At some point, I yell at them and say, we got to have an intro. So there is like a real good intro point at some point.
There is.
Yeah. But yes, I bet that was pretty fun to go through and be like, what are these idiots doing? Oh my God.
Because I think either you or Dan had suggested Annette, and then 10 minutes later, you finally came to that conclusion.
Yeah, we had a whole bunch of options. We let chat actually vote, and 2012's Battleship almost won, got very close, and it was in the lead until the last second, and then Annette pulled ahead, and we had to watch Annette instead.
So here's my pitch. Maybe this is a Film in 40s, but Nikki Grayson had tweeted about the show Psych, I think, earlier this week.
I did see that.
And then I realized, you know what? I'm a Psych ho. I love Psych. I love Sean and Gus, Lassiter, Juliet. I love this whole cavalcade of fun characters. And then all of it is on Amazon Prime.
Yeah, are we on a USA like characters are welcome assance? Because all of these shows are popping off right now.
Yo, Psych, Burn Notice, Monk.
I've watched this is not a bit. I've watched so many TikToks of Suits. So many Suits TikToks, Jan. It's like
Suit Talk? You're on Suit Talk?
I'm on Suit Talk. And it's like, man, these guys are wearing nice suits. And boy, the thing they just said was really cool. These are cool dudes. And then I'll like scroll, like, all right, well, I'm never going to watch that show. And another TikTok will come up and I'm like, fuck yeah, let's go. So listen, I always like, USA always felt like a cheap prestige TV. And now I'm like, oh, maybe that's exactly what I need. I don't need any of this like up its ass bullshit. Give me characters are welcome in this house.
I was thinking that because I was thinking like, oh, maybe I'll finally watch Better Call Saul, or I'll rewatch Breaking Bad, or some other is it A&E show?
AMC?
AMC, not A&E. I was about to say A&W. Well, that's
just good root beer.
That's high drama right there. And then I saw Nikki's tweet about Psych, and I was like, you know what? They may be up to something here.
Yep, they may have something there. Someone told me in chat, watch White Collar. That is the one USA show I definitely watched. At least a couple. I think I watched all the first season, probably a little bit beyond that. And that was, I think they're all similar to that. And if that's the case, that's fine. Just like cool characters doing cool stuff. I'm down.
Did they drop that slogan? Can we adopt an
I haven't heard it in a while. Yeah. So like characters are welcome at Giant Bomb. Like, yeah. That's
Please,
us now.
I need that shirt. So Giant Bomb, where characters are welcome.
So you said this could be a Film in 40s. Are you like, do we watch the whole series, or we just like pick an episode?
We cannot watch the full series.
Of course not.
I was thinking maybe like, hey, once a week, maybe once a month, we just pick 3 episodes.
Okay, I would like that. That would be fun. That would be good. Yeah.
Like endurance run.
Yeah, Psych Endurance. Just one episode a day for the rest of the year. Oh my god.
Yeah, that's our lunch break. Is we just watch Psych.
All right, let's get in this mess. But before we do, let's explain what we do here. Most weekdays, I, Jeff Grubb, will help piece your gaming life back together. That includes breaking news and maybe even some of our own original reporting. For all these topics, I'll get the input of a bona fide expert who will make me look smart. If you were watching live on Twitch, welcome. You can always listen to the show later on podcast feeds by searching for Game Mess Mornings or find the RSS on giantbomb.com. You can also catch the show later with chapters and timestamps on YouTube. Hello, YouTube. Okay, we have a lot to get into, so let's start the morning mess with Blizzard games are coming to Steam starting in August with Overwatch 2. This comes from Tom, the Machine Ivan at VGC. Blizzard Entertainment has announced plans to make a selection of its PC games available on Steam. The first Blizzard title to launch on Valve's digital marketplace will be the free-to-play team-based hero shooter Overwatch 2, which is available to wishlist now ahead of its August 10th release. Steam players will need to connect to a Battle.net account in order to play the game, as is the case on all platforms, which Blizzard said enables features like crossplay. It's our goal at Blizzard to listen to players and try to exceed their expectations in everything we do, said Blizzard President Mike Ibarra. While Battle.net remains a priority for us now and into the future, we've heard players want the choice of Steam for a selection of our games. Starting with Overwatch 2 on August 10th, we're happy to work with Valve to make that happen. Gamers and developers are both going to benefit from Overwatch 2 coming to Steam, said Valve boss Gabe Newell. Gamers will have another platform where they can play a beloved game that utilizes the capabilities of Steam, and developers will benefit from the effects of having the talented team at Blizzard helping us evolve our supported features and functionality for Overwatch 2. That's another quote from Ibarra there. This a little surprising, but I think like looking at the reality of specific launchers for games, even Battle.net, it is not that surprising, right, Jan?
Yeah, I think someone said it earlier on a Game Mess this week that the war for our bottom row on our desktops is maybe finally done.
Yeah, at least for now. It's a ceasefire.
At least for now. And I booted up Steam yesterday, and I was very, very confused to see Overwatch being advertised straight up on the front page, or at least one of like the pop-up ads. I think this has always been inevitable. I think also just access to games in general will do a game so much more favors. And who knows, maybe popping onto Steam? I don't know. I feel like the crossover, the Venn diagram is very close of the folks that would have already played Overwatch 2 and are big on Steam. But who knows? Maybe being on Steam will help garner and inject a whole new audience into the game.
Yeah, and Gabe Newell commenting on this makes me wonder if this was a similar sort of deal as what happened with Apex Legends. Like in that case, I know that EA and Valve talked, and it was like basically it was a mutual like request of Valve was asking, hey, what do we need to do to get Apex Legends on Steam? And EA is like, hey, what do we need to do to get EA access, EA Play, onto Steam so that people could subscribe to that? And both sides were like, hey, well, if you do one, then we'll do the other. Like, if you can get one on here, then we'll do the other thing. So it was like a mutual agreement. I wonder if like Valve was like, hey, yeah, Overwatch 2, put that on Steam. Like, that's the kind of thing that would do best on Steam. And so, yeah, I mean, especially a game like Overwatch 2 that is in such a rough patch right now. There are definitely issues with that game. We'll talk about what they're doing with the Overwatch League here in a second. This seems like a pretty good move. My question, Jan, is do you think like World of Warcraft ever ends up on Steam? That seems wild to me.
Oh man. Well, Final Fantasy 14 is technically on Steam. You still have to download Square's weird PC launcher, and I think that has been the main stopping point for me to fully diving into 14. But I think there's a possibility. Yeah, I did not think of a world where World of Warcraft would be available on Steam, but I think after all of the hullabaloo with Activision, Blizzard, and Microsoft, I think it is distinctly possible. I am now thinking of the poor people playing WoW on a Steam Deck, and that sounds terrifying.
Yes, that doesn't. Yeah, it would require a lot of work put into getting those touchpads to have like those radial menus for all the different commands you'd have to do. It's possible,
Well,
but yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people play like FF14 on a
Yeah.
controller primarily, so you could probably adapt it,
Yeah,
right?
I mean, I think Final Fantasy 14 was made with that stuff in mind, but I think at this point you could figure it out for World of Warcraft. I mean, it wouldn't be easy, but they could figure something out there. And I think that'd be pretty cool. But yeah, I mean, we know that Microsoft revealed during the case that putting Call of Duty into BattleNet was a big mistake, according to Microsoft. They said, like, hey, looking at Activision's numbers, that was a huge mistake. And now we see Call of Duty is back on Steam since Modern Warfare 2. And it's like, oh, and you know, that's not the only example. Ubisoft going back and forth between Ubisoft Forward and then now they're back in Steam with most of their games. Although that's not like, it doesn't seem like it's a full embrace of Steam again. Every once in a while, it seems like there's a game that doesn't come to Steam. Maybe either that's because of an Epic deal or they do want to try Ubisoft Forward or whatever the hell their service is called again. It's not Forward. That's the name of their showcase, but whatever they call their thing, Uplay. It's so it's like we've seen this transition go back and forth where a bunch of companies are like, hey, we want to cut Valve out. We could do this better on our own, and then they go and do it on their own, and they don't sell nearly as many copies because most people just go, again, the path of least resistance is I play games on Steam, I'll just buy games on Steam, and if you're not on Steam, I'll wait till you're there. And a lot of these companies weren't counting on that, and now they've seen that hard won lesson, and Valve the entire time Valve was just like, you'll be back. And it's like, oh, okay, they were right. Yep, that's pretty wild. But Valve's, I mean, we've heard Gabe Newell say like, we won't sign that Call of Duty deal with Microsoft because we don't believe in that sort of thing. We believe in making Steam so good that people want to bring their stuff there. And of course, that just means having the most people spending the most money. But if they have that, then they can wield it. And here we are, where even Overwatch 2 now is coming to Steam. It's pretty wild world. Yeah, a friendly monopoly, says Medusa Lover 69. That's right. I mean, they probably also do give somewhat more favorable cuts to some of these companies.
Yeah.
It's probably not like 88-12 like Epic Game Store, right? But it's 88% to the game developer, 12% to Epic. But they did announce, like when Epic was announcing all that stuff, like way back when, that if you sell over $100,000 worth of anything in the game, well, then you get like a 20-80 split or something like that. So a lot of these companies were probably like looking at it and be like, okay, we're doing the math, and with the amount of money that we could do on Steam, it probably does make sense for us to be back on there.
Yeah. I also imagine, and this is a very, very, very specific use case, but if a Call of Duty player wanted, or like an Overwatch 2 player that started on console, suddenly got a PC and then wanted to get over and start playing those games on the PC, that may be too many hoops for them to jump through rather than something that is more widely known than Steam. Of like, I got to download what launcher? I have to make what account now? All right.
Yeah, I remember hearing stories about from developers in the early days of Unity and Unity working on the web, where it was like, okay, so we can get these games working on a browser, and isn't that going to make it like just, it's going to open it up to everybody? But what would happen is you would click on this web page, and it'd be like, and now we're going to install Unity into your browser and do all this stuff, and it would come up with pop-ups, excuse me, and those pop-ups would be enough to discourage most people from going through with it. They'd be like, this seems like a headache. Is this a problem? Is it dangerous? I don't care to learn. And so X, I'm just leaving this, whatever. And that barrier to entry, that small barrier to entry of clicking on a few dialog boxes and giving it permission and learning about whether or not this was safe was too much for most people. And I mean, like, there's evidence beyond games of like the way our brains work, where organ donors, like if you make that an opt-in instead of an opt-out, most people will be like, I don't believe in that, I don't want to do it. But if you make organ donating opt-out, where it's already checked, people will be like, I'm just going to let it go, and they will change their opinion about their feelings about donating organs. They're like, I've always been for that. There's like research about that, where people's like brains actually just accept what's already on the page, and then they justify it. They like work backwards to justify it. Like, that's how fundamentally lazy we are. So yeah, any sort of extra obstacle that you put in front of people, is going to cost you money, and these companies have now seen that. I think even Epic has seen that, despite giving away free games and
I know.
and all this stuff, like spending all this money, and they're not making a dent, right?
That same value is why automatic sliding doors were created, Grubb, because businesses were losing millions and millions of money because folks were just confused. Is this a push door? Is this a pull door?
Right. I didn't want to be embarrassed.
Exactly. I pulled when I should have pushed. Now I'm embarrassed. I'm going to go home now.
I'm just going to go home and go to sleep. Yeah, today's it's a wash. We'll try again tomorrow, everybody. All right, let's move on here. Activision Blizzard cuts esports staff and uncertain future over Overwatch League. Activision Blizzard has made a round of layoffs at its esports division while confirming that big changes may be in store for the Overwatch League. On Wednesday, the company reportedly cut around 50 employees in what appeared to be a significant gutting, and that's a quote, of its esports division. One of the affected team members told The Verge. There was no warning, they said. This was a complete shock to everyone, and none of us who were laid off were offered any opportunity to switch roles or teams. A statement Brad Crawford, Senior Director of Global Communications of Activision Blizzard Esports, claimed, and this is the quote now, "We remain committed to the future of esports, and we regularly assess how our staffing aligns with our business goals to ensure we can evolve with changing trends and best deliver for our teams." Blah, blah, blah. Basically, they see what's everyone else sees, that there's just not a ton of money in esports, and it's hard to turn it into this big business. I think there is some money in esports, Jan. But it does, like, it's gonna take a lot longer than everyone, I think, said at first, and that's because the audience you're going for is younger. They don't have a ton of disposable income. Like the people who are fans of traditional sports there's a wide age spectrum, and you can win over younger fans while fleecing older fans and be like, you're gonna want to buy this and this and this, and you have the money to spend on that. Esports just aren't quite there yet, and it might take like another decade for that sort of thing to kick in. In the meantime, they have to, these esports leagues need to show longevity and show, like, if you are a long-term committed fan, that you're going to get a lot out of it. And that's like, they're in that phase right now where it's like, oh, it doesn't feel like they're going to be able to pull that off. But I don't know. Overwatch League was the big esports league. It's like, we're going to have city-based teams and like franchise rights where you have to spend $20 million to start a franchise in the Overwatch League. This is going to be it. And if that one can't really make it work, I question what can.
Yeah, I don't know, because I feel like or at least I'm noticing esports coming and going in absolute waves. And I think you nailed it, Grubb, where it's the investment in your time and interest is hard, because with all the stuff disappearing, like I had several friends that bought jerseys and rep teams from the Overwatch League, and now like those teams and the whole league is defunct. But like with stuff like StarCraft, interest in StarCraft is going to eventually wane, or like what can keep people interested. I feel like the FGC is like the closest I've seen people stay interested in esport. I don't know. It's just hard. I feel like as soon esports is hard. Also, is when you start trying to monetize every aspect of it. I don't know, Grubb. Maybe they just needed a halftime show.
Yeah, maybe they needed a halftime at the Hyper Bowl. Have you seen Annette? You've seen Annette, like the Hyper Bowl?
I've seen.
It's a very important scene to me, Jan. When the baby puppet flies in on drones at the Hyper Bowl. That's cinema to me. Continue here. The layoffs were made amid uncertainty over the future of Overwatch League, with Activision announcing on Wednesday that franchise owners are set to vote on whether to continue the competition in its current format. Here's the quote again. During the second quarter, we amended certain terms of our collaborative arrangements with team entities participating in the Overwatch League. According to the amended terms, following the conclusion of the current Overwatch League season, the teams will vote on an updated operating agreement. If the teams do not vote to continue under an updated operating agreement, a termination fee of $6 million will be payable to each participating team entity, totaling a total fee of approximately $114 million While big changes may be afoot, and this is no longer the quote. While big changes may be afoot, Overwatch League Commissioner Sean Miller told The Verge, "I want to be clear on one thing in particular: that Overwatch remains committed to a competitive ecosystem in 2024 and beyond, and we're building toward a revitalized global scene that prioritizes players and fans." And I don't know what to make of that.
Okay, you know what? Turbo Sean just broke my brain here in a good way. And, going back to the whole conversation about like the FGC feeling different as an esport, and I think Sean says it perfectly that FGC is more of grassroots, right?
Yes.
I could see folks playing cash games in a hotel at Evo at any point, or just like playing for the pure sport of it. I feel like FGC is very similar to like basketball in some regard, because I could just play a pickup game with some friends anytime, no pressure. But with something like Overwatch, Dota, League, Valorant, CS, even TF2, it feels like you're forcing that into trying to legitimize it as a sport, and like you're trying to make it a big spectacle, and you're kind of robbing the fun from it.
Yep.
Which is how football seems.
Yes. Well,
like,
I mean, robbing
a lot
the fun
of spectacle for like no reason.
Yes, and yes, and robbing the fun is the biggest complaint about Overwatch is that Blizzard focused too much on the esports competitive scene. They focused on their Overwatch League, and they built the game around that, and that ended up hurting what was otherwise a pretty fun, casual online multiplayer game. And the grassroots element, it's just absolutely. These are for something like Overwatch, and for a lot of esports that aren't the fighting game community, and a handful of other things. It is the marketing departments at these companies saying this is a marketing expense, and we will, because this is a good way to get the word out about our game. If people stay interested in the esports side of things, they'll stay interested in playing it. And there's some truth to that, but that makes it a very different thing than when people are hey, we are organizing to play this because that's how much we care about it. And I think people would create tournaments in the community for sure, and then they'd be like, why don't we get support from the publisher? It's like there's good and bad with that. Once they come in there, they are going to look at ways to like make it make sense to their bottom line. And with a dearth of money coming in from like ticket sales for events, yes, do shout, take a drink, everybody. Dearth. It's going to be the kind of thing where like, okay, well, it's going to be a loss leader. We're going to sell more content in the game later, and that means that the esports teams are going to have to kind of take a back seat a little bit and be treated a little bit worse than they might otherwise be, and that's how it goes. The fundamental reality is corporations own these sports, and and that is no one actually owns basketball. They own the National Basketball Association, yes, but you can take a ball, go outside, play basketball, and you don't have to pay anybody anything. And that is a very different thing than this corporatized version of sports that esports are. And that's going to always be a problem until something gets figured out there.
I feel like we even saw this when we went to DreamHack. It is a completely different vibe when you are watching a competitive game like a MOBA, like Overwatch or whatever, versus people playing a fighting game. Like the fighting game crowd went wild, absolutely wild over any and everything. And I love that feeling. I felt so bad for Emmett Bailey that had to conduct a serious interview with the God of War cast. But next door, you could not contain their excitement. Meanwhile, you're looking at folks playing a MOBA, and like everyone is taking this way too seriously.
Yep, it's it's a hard scene to like pin down, like exactly. Like Rocket League feels like one that is
kind of like riding the line of both. Exactly,
right? And it's and you could see the community is very passionate about it, and they would probably find a way to continue some sort of competitive scene no matter what. And the developer that was behind it for a long time, now it's Epic, but for a long time it was just this small studio. And Psyonix, I think it's Psyonix, and they didn't have like some massive esports budget, but they like worked with other esports entities to kind of make it make sense. And I think that is one, like you said, rides the line, and there's going to be a lot of stuff like that. But that it's just, I think bottom line here is there's just not as much money in esports as these companies thought, and they are now recognizing that, and they are gonna pull back on their investment and make it like a diet version of what they've been doing. So we're gonna get Diet Overwatch League here pretty soon, and I believe them when they say it's not going to go away completely, but I bet it's going to feel like it goes away completely compared to what it was.
Yeah.
All right. Call of Duty makes a huge amount of money on mobile. Here's how much. This comes from Eddie McCooch at GameSpot. The Call of Duty series is soaring right now as Activision has announced that the series has climbed to around 90 million monthly players, while Modern Warfare 2, Warzones, and /Warzones microtransactions are putting up big numbers. Not only that, but Activision revealed how much money Call of Duty Mobile has earned so far, and it's a lot. This information came out of Activision Blizzard's latest earnings briefing. Call of Duty Mobile saw engagement and net bookings remain stable year over year, Activision said. Lifetime spending on the game since it launched in October 2019 recently surpassed $3 billion. Yeah, that's almost $1 billion per year. It's probably a little bit lower than that, but that is basically, if you are one of the biggest mobile games in the world, you make about $1 billion a year in revenue, and that's right where this is at.
How do we do that? How do we do that, Grubb?
I think we had a giant bomb go. You just find me laying in a ditch with the AR, and then you throw a Pokeball at me and catch me.
Okay.
I think right. You're writing this down. Okay, good.
All right, cool. You go to like a fridge and you either get Bacalar or like Dan.
Exactly. That's right. That is a massive number, but it's only about half of what Pokemon Go has earned during its lifetime. Pokemon Go's been out since 2016, though. So, for what it's worth, Pokemon Go was on the market for several years. There you go. According to Sensor Tower, Call of Duty Mobile earned $1.5 billion by February 2022. A figure it has now officially doubled in the time since. As for the console series, a new game is coming this fall for PC and console and blah, blah, blah. But yeah, this is them like maximizing the return on Call of Duty. And this is why they take all their studios and like, all right, we're going to make more Call of Duty stuff. And they already have Call of Duty Mobile, and they're like, we're making other Call of Duty mobile things as well. And it's just all Call of Duty in every direction. And it's because it really does just make that much money. So I think I complain personally a lot about, hey, Activision Blizzard doesn't seem to believe in all these other franchises. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1+2 is the best-selling Tony Hawk game, and you don't get a sequel to that? What are we doing here? When they just put it in black and white numbers like that, I mean, I get it. Like if I was running a business and I had one product that made more money than everything else, of course you double down on that product. But I think that's why I go like, oh, Microsoft acquiring them, having different incentives, having a reason to make a lot of different games because it supports Game Pass. I'm like, okay, that's good. But even if Microsoft, like when the deal goes through, they're not going to suddenly give up on the investment in Call of Duty. It's still going to be all Call of Duty all the time for the most part, right?
Yeah, of course. But I feel like when you were a company as big as Activision Blizzard, you can do both. Right? Mm-hmm. Like, why can't you do both?
That's how I feel. Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense to me, especially when and hey, Grubb, I don't know how money works.
Of course not. Of course
not.
Know,
like
we chose to be in games media. You think we know how money works?
I live in San Francisco. I'm a sweet summer child when it comes to finances. I am so cavalier with them. Anyway, we don't need to get into that, but. When I see that a company is taking in $3 billion from a mobile game, not to disparage the validity of a mobile game,
sure,
but I feel like that gives you enough funds to also support another studio that can make you additional amounts of money. Because wasn't Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1+2 the best-selling Tony Hawk game?
It is, yes. It is the best-selling Tony Hawk game, a franchise like notorious for selling a ton and like defining Activision as this company. It's like we're going to do one of these every year, and oh my god, it's selling better than the last one. It's selling better than the last one. It's selling better than the last one. It's like it's no longer selling better than the last one. It's no longer selling better than the last one.
Yeah.
But it's okay. And now you have brought back this series, and it's higher than ever, and we're just not going to follow that up. And something is broken there if you could be making all this money from one franchise and you have successful versions of other franchises, but you can't do more of those because you got to feed this other beast. You got to there's something wrong. It's got to be figured out. Now, again, I get like the need to prioritize, but if you can't also like diversify at the same time, then I don't know. I feel like you got to figure something out there.
Like the boom is. I'm sorry, Greg.
No. I was going to move on, so please go ahead.
Like we've seen the boom in several mobile games where they will like control the cultural zeitgeist, and like Pokemon Go still doing well financially, yes, but it's declining in popularity. And yes, Call of Duty Mobile is raking in $3 billion now, but like as you said, interest in Call of Duty is eventually going to wane. So those numbers are going to go down. And what are they going to do afterwards? Yeah. Because they put all their eggs in this basket. It's like your children. You might like I'm not speaking about your children, Grubb. In general, children, you might like one more, so you're going to give one more chicken nuggets. The other one still needs chicken nuggets.
That's right. That's exactly right. That's a good point. It's they are like this earnings report was pretty good for Activision Blizzard, better than I think people would have expected from a year and a half ago. It's like, where are they going to be in 18 months? And it's like, well, they're doing pretty good because Call of Duty is succeeding, but that puts them in a risky position where if there is a hiccup with Call of Duty, if they do miss a year, like they were going to miss this year, they're not going to miss this year now. They're going to have Modern Warfare 3 as a follow-up to Modern Warfare 2. Very weird, but that's what they're doing. If they missed a year, though, it's like, well, Activision Blizzard stock is just going to fucking take such a huge beating, and you got to get back to it now. And now it's like a panic time, and everyone now you really got to get everyone working on Call of Duty, and they're already doing that. So you see, they are in a corner, despite being very successful, despite making a ton of money from Call of Duty. They are backed up into a corner, but a little bit by their own making, a little bit by hey, this is just how capitalism works, and if they do mess up, if they put out a bad Call of Duty that really gets people upset and they don't buy it nearly as much of it, this is a company that could in an instant be worth significantly less and take a huge hit, and Bobby Kotick's out and all this stuff. And look, that sounds not too bad, but that's not what they want. So yeah, they do, on the other hand, have Blizzard, and in the meantime, Diablo 4 has been wildly successful so far. This is from Darren Bontheus at GameSpot. In the short time since its release, Diablo 4 has been a major earner for Activision Blizzard, as the company revealed that the game has been one of its fastest-selling titles of all time. Overall, the game helped set a record quarter for Blizzard with over $1 billion in net bookings. According to Activision Blizzard, in its second quarter 2023 financial results, Diablo 4 has sold through more units than any other Blizzard game at an equivalent stage of release, and player retention was particularly strong. With over 10 million people playing the game in June alone, over 700 million hours of activity have been logged last month. In Europe alone, Diablo 4 is 2023's second fastest selling game so far and is beaten only by Hogwarts Legacy, according to GamesIndustry.biz. PC was unsurprisingly the most popular platform. A devilish 66% of players chose to play on PC, and PlayStation 5 attracted 21% of Europe's Diablo 4 player base. It's, again, not too surprising, but hey, Diablo is back. They made a good one of those, and everyone showed up, and now the fan base is actually bigger than ever for Diablo 4 overall. So they do have other things happening. It's Blizzard, and that required them to take the Volition team and get them come over here and work on Diablo and all this was it Volition or Vicarious Visions, Vicarious Visions, take them and have them come work on Diablo, and they had to cannibalize some of their other efforts to keep feeding this beast. And it's just like, that is the story over there, and it's for now it's working. These games are succeeding, but there have been missteps like that Warcraft 3 Reforged, and they were on a series of like missteps like that, and it's like, well, they pulled out but out of that nosedive. But had they not done that, this would be really bad. But okay, nope, they figured it out. But it's like it feels like, okay, now what's next? Do you have the capacity to build something new, to build a new franchise that can keep going, or is it going to be keep going back to these same wells until they eventually, the return on investment there is less and less and less? Again, they're kind of worked into a corner, but they are making a lot of money for now.
Yes, yeah, they're worked into a corner, but I mean, hey, you can only get pushed into a corner so much eventually. I don't know, Grubb. I feel like whenever I hear about Activision and Blizzard releasing a new game, I think of they're walking on a tightrope of yeah, you're doing good so far, but I don't know, man. I've seen people slackline in the park, and I've seen some people fall on their face.
Yep. Yeah, and it's people mentioned in Twitch chat, Volani here. I heard Blizzard had a real bad talent retention problem. I wonder if they fixed it, and I don't think they have. I think what they did is they just like they brought in these other teams to like fill in the gaps, like as like just these human beings, just throw them at the problem. And while they're doing that, I'm sure they keep losing people, and they're not able to bring in new people enough at the same time. So yeah, they might be in a situation where things have gone well with Call of Duty and Diablo right now, but in the process of getting to this point, they have left themselves maybe more vulnerable next time around because they don't have as many studios, for one, and they don't have many studios working on different kinds of games, and the studios that they have brought in to work on these things are from people who are leaving. I mean, because Activision Blizzard did the mandatory come into the office, a lot of studios have done the exact opposite and said, hey, you can work from anywhere, and that is going to be very attractive, and that's going to draw people away from Activision Blizzard. And that's just one thing among many. Obviously, there was a toxic work environment, and people might not feel confident that they addressed that. So yeah, like Activision Blizzard in an okay position right now, but there is questions about what's next.
Yeah, I could see folks, aspiring game developers, folks working in that space being drawn to work specifically for the Blizzard side and not really wanting to stay around for like the shenanigans they've heard from the Activision side. And I know that they function as one company, but culturally and like specifically like the games that they would like to work on.
Yep. All right. Diablo 4's first season is off to a rocky start before it even begins. This is from Ollie Welsh at Polygon. Diablo 4's first season of the Malignant, begins Thursday at 1 p.m. Eastern. This should have been an exciting moment for fans of the game, but instead the community finds itself in an open revolt over the hugely unpopular changes in Tuesday's preseason update, patch 1.1. The patch is short on buffs and long, very, very long on nerfs. Players' defense and damage have been reduced, and leveling progress has been significantly slowed, especially in later levels and on higher world tiers. Even the Sorcerer class, which players agree is the most underpowered in the game and has a serious build diversity problem, was nerfed instead of buffed. Both Diablo 4 and Diablo subreddits are overwhelmed with complaints about the patch. Now I want to say, that just sounds like a Blizzard game to me at a certain point where, the players are complaining on the subreddit and the forums, huh? Okay, well, now we got a real Blizzard game on our hands.
There we go.
A lot of people do seem to have some legitimate complaints, and it is pretty loud, and Blizzard has already begun rolling back some of these things. Let's keep reading here. Streamer Asmongold summed up the situation in the opening minutes of a video discussing the update, where he said, number 1, everything is worse. Number 2, everything is harder. Number 3, everything you were doing, now you have to work harder to do it again. Number 4, leveling is slower. He goes on and on. There were early signs that Blizzard had gone into damage control mode, with a live stream addressing the changes announced for Friday. We've been hearing feedback from players regarding some of the changes in 1.1.0, community developer director Adam Fletcher said late Tuesday. We are going to have a campfire chat later this week on Friday to talk more about it. Some of the changes are already being reversed. One of the most controversial changes in the patch, not detailed in the patch notes, but quickly spotted by players, was the introduction of minimum level requirements for the 3rd and 4th world tiers, which are effectively difficulty levels. This might have been intended to block practice of higher level characters being able to group up with low level players and boost them through levels at a tremendous speed by carrying them into the higher world tiers. And my question for that is, why would you want to stop that? That is part of these kinds of games. You just got to embrace that stuff. I get where some of these developers come from. We built an experience. We want you to do it, but players get to define, like when you have a game like this, it feels like, especially an online multiplayer game, that the community gets to define kind of what their experience is a lot of times, right?
Yes, 100%. Like eventually a game will leave the initial intent of the developer, right? Because the community will 100% make the game what they want to make the game. This is what I was talking about, Grubb, where it feels like they're walking on a tightrope of like, I don't understand you. Why are you doing this?
Yes.
Like, why are you jumping on this tightrope right now when you could just keep walking forward?
Diablo was in a good position, and this is not the end of the world. They're gonna figure this out. The game's gonna be fine. But this is kind of like, you stepped in a little bit of doo-doo. You didn't have to do that. Like, you could have just walked around it. And I don't get the overcorrection so much that a lot of these developers do sometimes.
I'm very thankful that I never fell into World of Warcraft or like Diablo super hardcore, because this feels like an abusive relationship, Grab.
Yes, it
Where it's like,
definitely does.
Like you're suddenly gonna send me a full text list of people I can't talk to, and I can't take these fun pictures with people, and then like, okay, yeah, I'll just okay, cool, yeah, I won't do any of that anymore,
Mm-hmm.
and we'll be happy. That's fine.
Yep.
That's fine.
Do on a tightrope. I guess it is hard to walk around it. All right. Microsoft and Activision urge FTC to drop its legal challenge before the August hearing. This is from James Batchelor at GamesIndustry.biz. Microsoft and Activision Blizzard have filed a request to the Federal Trade Commission urging the body to withdraw plans for an administrative hearing next month. The hearing was first scheduled after the FTC issued a legal challenge against Microsoft's proposed acquisition of Activision Blizzard back in December. While it does not have the power to block the merger, the hearing could lead to the case being elevated to other U.S. courts. However, Microsoft and Activision Blizzard argue in their filing that the U.S. courts have already demonstrated that they do not believe the acquisition to be anti-competitive, following the FTC's failure to secure a preliminary injunction from the district court and the Ninth Circuit's denial of its appeal against the decision. There's more to this. This is too surprising. These companies don't want to deal with this. The FTC does seem to want to put as much pressure on as possible. So I think it's very unlikely that they're going to win this or convince the FTC, especially. And I don't have the story here and I don't have all the details, but the FTC and Joe Biden just announced a new set of rules about mergers in the United States. And reading through those rules, it feels like they were written specifically to stop this deal. So I haven't looked into too much. I don't know how Joe Biden has declared all these new rules for mergers in the United States, how legally binding that is. I mean, I know he's the president, but he's not Congress, but he's also, the chief enforcer of regulation. So I who knows what that could mean for this deal. This might apply to future stuff, or it might apply to this administrative hearing next month. So I'll just say it does seem like the FTC is still very serious about getting in the way as much as possible for this deal. So we'll see what happens, but I don't expect the FTC to stand down. What do you think?
I don't expect them to stand down either. Who do you think Joe Biden mains in Overwatch?
Oh, he's definitely, what's the big shield guy? Yes.
Reinhardt,
yeah,
is that his name?
He's definitely a Reinhardt. He sees himself as a Reinhardt 100%.
Yes. I was thinking that, or Soldier 76.
Oh yeah, that's true. Soldier 76, he wears an American flag outfit. Yeah, I could see it. Definitely.
Okay, Hampton the hamster. Okay.
Yeah, that's pretty good too. That's Hunter Biden's character. Please, everybody, please. A new King Kong game has been leaked by Amazon. This comes from Tom the Machine Ivan at VGC. Amazon has seemingly leaked a new King Kong game ahead of its official announcement. Titled Skull Island Rise of Kong, the third-person action-adventure game is headed to Nintendo Switch, PlayStation systems, Xbox systems, according to a product listing on Amazon's Spanish website. The listings, which were spotted by Gamatsu, also carry what is presumably a placeholder release date of December 31st, 2024. Here's how the page describes it. Embark on a third-person action-adventure to avenge the death of your parents at the hands of the ultimate alpha predator, Gaw. Conquer waves of primal beast and defeat your arch enemy's minions to become the rightful king of Skull Island. Excuse me. There's more to it, but this is a game from Game Mill.
Peggy.
Oh, there it is. You look at it.
Sorry.
You seen a trailer? Yes. What is it? I can't tell.
It was a trailer.
This is from Game Mill, which is a publisher that does a lot of these kinds of low tier license games. So I wouldn't expect too much from this. They have done I think one of their better games is Nickelodeon All Stars Battle Royale or whatever it's called. They did that, but also that game felt cheap in ways where they didn't have voice acting and all that stuff. So yeah, I don't know. Are you a Kong stan, Jan? I don't know.
Grubb. I am a kaiju guy. I love me some Godzilla.
I was gonna say Gaiju, but that's not good. Can't say that.
I love all of that. I'm one of the rare folks that loved Kong versus Godzilla because of seeing Big Monkey Superman punch Godzilla.
Yes, absolutely.
And man, I was initially hyped because like, yeah, let's get King Kong. Let's get King Kong back in like the cultural zeitgeist. Let's make it happen again. But I just looked at that trailer that Lexi linked, and then I saw Game Loft, and then I was filled with so much disappointment. Probably the same level of disappointment you were filled when you talked about the Invincible game that is also coming out.
Yes, that is probably a very good way to put it. I don't feel good about that Invincible game. Let me see if I can bring up this Peggy 18 here.
It's not good, Grubb.
Yeah, let's see if I can get it, everybody. Just a second. We are still in that space where licensed games are kind of taking over. Most licensed games probably are still going to be like this, where cheap cash-ins, like that is still going to be like what. There's just not as many high-quality publishers that have enough money to pay for the license and then still make a good game. Like that was always the problem. Like even the companies that did have that money didn't want to make that investment. Now they do, and that's nice. That's a change, and that's cool. Star Wars Jedi Survivor. That's the thing I'm going to go back to next. I can't wait. But most of these IPs are going to get acquired by game mill like publishers that are going to either put out mobile versions of these games, like we got with Invincible, or this, which looks fucking rough. Oh my god, that looks real bad. That looks
I
so
just
bad.
don't know what kind of game is this.
Yeah, I mean, it's a third-person action-adventure game where you avenge your parents, and it says waves of enemies. So I think it's like a wave-based, like you're King Kong, and then waves of enemies are gonna come at you, and you're gonna take them on, and you might maybe go through the level, and there's another wave of enemies. But I think it's probably just a brawler, basically.
Oh, thank the Lord I'm not on Blight Club, because then like just sharing the information that I like King Kong and Godzilla. This is oh no.
If you ever step in, you're cursed. You're cursed, and we know what to do.
You can't get out the door.
We know what to do. All right, let me back here.
Oh, hold on. Okay, yeah, I had a thought, but then it escaped me thinking about having to jump into a Godzilla costume.
That's how it goes.
You know what? Okay. I remember what I was going to bring up. I just want to give a special shout outs to like people like John Drake in his position of like making good Disney games.
Yeah.
Good licensed products and everything, because I feel like we're diving back in Grubb into very, very bad licensed games, especially with like the Marvel games and Star Wars games on phones that look exactly the same. They're just different reskins of each other.
Yep.
But folks like John Drake, maybe John Drake specifically, he's like, no, we're going to make good stuff. We're going to make great games. We're going to specifically seek out folks that have good ideas and can really execute on them well. Because even me, I love Disney Dreamlight Valley. I didn't mean to say it in that voice. But,
I liked it.
Like the 4-player mobile game, or not mobile game, the 4-player co-op platformer game we checked out at SGF. Disney Illusion.
Disney. Disney Fantasy. I can't remember now. Jesus. But yes, I know what you mean. Illusion is in it, right? And Disney Illusion
Yes.
Island. That sounds right. Yes. You got it.
That is a good game. The racing game you and Mitch checked out looked very promising. Illusion Island. There we go.
Yes.
And like, hey, like this, I am all for good licensed games. And I mean, hey, we also have the whole Kingdom Hearts series, and those are good games.
Your guest here, Jan. I'm not gonna stand against you. I'm not gonna stand in the way of your perversions. There's also a new Armored Core 6 trailer out. Let's look at 5 seconds of that real quick together, everybody. There you go. This looks pretty good. Look at that art. God, what a good looking game. All right, let's get back into the news. Just a couple more stories here. Resident Evil 4 is now topped 5 million units sold. Oh, actually, let me hop back real quick, Jan. Gundam Evolution is shutting down in November. This is from Ben Leon at Game Reactor. If you're a Gundam fan, Bandai Namco has some bad news for you. As noted in a blog post, Gundam Evolution will be officially shutting down in November, as the developer has come to the conclusion that it is no longer possible for us to provide a service that satisfies our players. That sounds rough. Specifically, Bandai Namco notes that Gundam Evolution will be shutting down on November 29th, 2023, and with this in mind, there will be a change in how the game is offered up until then. We're told that updates will continue alongside the launch of the game's 6th season on August 23rd, which will bring a new unit and 2 more maps, and its 7th and final season on October 25th, bringing 1 less unit and map. But that from July 26th, all Evo coins and EC Pod limited sales will be stopped, and updates to EC Pods, Cap Pods, and Ticket Pods will be stopped as well. Hey, Jan, when I'm diagnosing what goes wrong with a game like this, fucking currencies like that, I think there's your problem right there. That's just, it's too much. I get your free-to-play game, and this is like best practices for your dark patterns and all that, but I don't want to hear about your EC coins and your EC Pod limited sales. Get the fuck out of here with that stuff. Gundam Evolution was the Overwatch one, right? The one that just like looked exactly like Overwatch. That always seemed like a cool thing. Yeah.
Yeah. That's exactly how I felt about it. It seemed like a cool thing.
Yeah, exactly.
I played it once. This is a cool thing. It's just, I don't know what it is. Maybe it's me, but I just didn't want to keep checking it out. I don't know if it's, I just don't know how you can continue supporting a game like this, because it just seems difficult after the initial boom.
Yeah.
Right? Unless like the
absolutely.
Gundam audience are just a bunch of freaks, which they probably are.
They are, but they're like, I get my freak on by painting a little model. I don't need this video game.
Right.
Especially when it's like an ongoing hobby. The Gundam fans have a million other ongoing hobbies. They don't need another one. So why not take a game like this and just put a price on it, take all the microtransactions out, and sell it to people? I mean, I get that that's like the ceiling is lower there. I get it. And you want the ceiling to be infinitely high. But let's just be fucking realistic and say, hey, you spent so much on the game, set a price and try to sell so many copies that you make more than that. And then you made a profit and we can all move on to the next thing. That has to be an option on the table too, instead of just, oh, this was just another shitty live service game that didn't work out. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't get it.
Like there has to be a portion of that player audience there that is genuinely super duper bummed out. Like folks, friend groups, whoever got really, really into Gundam Evolution, finally had a good Gundam game. I don't know if there are other good Gundam games. But they had something and now it's gone. And I feel bad for those folks.
I do as well. All right. Resident Evil 4 has now topped more than 5 million copies sold. This from Ben, the All-Net Game Reactor. Capcom has revealed that Resident Evil 4 has topped yet another impressive milestone. The survival horror remake has now surpassed 5 million sold copies marker, something that it hopes to expand on further with the release of the upcoming Resident Evil 4 VR mode, thus tapping into the PSVR 2 player base. To add to this, Capcom has revealed that Resident Evil series as a whole has now reached 142 million copies sold.
Damn.
Yeah, it's pretty good. I think I was expecting Resident Evil 4 to sell a little bit faster than this. I think that's pretty good. But I think probably what happened is most people are like, I already played that game. I don't need to play it again. Sorry, I saw Mike in chat, and I just wanted to really hurt him. I was like, no, I thought most people were like, I played that, and it's one of my favorite games of all time, and now it looks better than ever. I want to play it, and so it was going to like rush to 10 million copies sold. I guess that was like, obviously that was way too much, but 5 million copies sold for this game, that's pretty good. Anything that is going to get over 5 million copies is just, no caveats, a huge success. It just is. 5 million copies sold is that threshold. Everything above that is like, wow, that's even more great. That's awesome. But if you make a game that costs as much as it costs to make Resident Evil 4 and then you sell 5 million copies, you have unequivocally succeeded. So yeah, I don't know. This game probably does get to like 10 million after sales and holiday sales later this year and all that stuff. But I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I have a couple friends that I thought would hop on this because they loved Resident Evil 4. But I think there is a little bit of that fatigue and maybe like lack of understanding with some of the gaming audience of like, well, I've played that before. Like, I don't need to check it out again, because since it is a single player experience for some people, that the assumption there is like, no, it's the same thing. It just looks prettier.
Yep, I think that does happen a little bit. Yeah, it's I think in my head it was like, well, no, Resident Evil 4 remake will be the fastest best-selling Resident Evil game, and I think Resident Evil 2 remake did very well, but that was like that was such a significant remake. It was like a completely new game, and it was like hitting an audience that probably mostly had never played that game before. I think Resident Evil 4 has been re-released so many times, most people have played it. But again, I feel like we're couching in terms of like, oh, it has failed, and it just has not. It is a success. Like,
But like, yeah, 5 million units is still amazing.
It's amazing.
Resident Evil 4 Remake is still an amazing game.
Absolutely. All right, we have the poll from yesterday. We're asked, are you getting Pikmin 4 this week? 17% said yes, 69% said no, and 14% said, I don't have a Switch. And that sounds about right for Pikmin. About, 1 in 4, 1 in 5 are going to pick that up. I guess if it was that case, they would sell tens of millions. So, but yeah, that for our audience, that seems about right. Jan, where are you at with Pikmin?
I don't want to disappoint you, Grubb.
It's okay. No, it's okay. Most people aren't into it, so I completely accept that. Like, I think most people like look at it and don't understand where the fun might be, and I completely sympathize with that.
Yes.
I think even someone who plays it and understands where the fun is, when I see a new one get announced, I look at it and be like, why do I like that so much? Because it's like, so I completely get it for sure.
I think for me, it's like, I didn't have a GameCube, and then even looking at screenshots and videos growing up of that game, like the backgrounds looked a little too muddy and gray for me.
Yes, I know what you mean. Yep. I think they're looking pretty good with once they got the HD with Pikmin 3 and now this. But I know what you mean. Like the backgrounds were trying to look photorealistic and didn't quite get there.
Yes, that's right, folks. I'm a Sega fanboy deep. That's right. I went from my love of Sonic to Kiryu. Kiryu would punch the shit out of a Pikmin.
Oh, yeah, he would step on it and not even realize he did it.
No,
and if you told him, he wouldn't care.
He'd be really nice, though. He'd be really nice to a Pikmin. He'd just put him in his pocket.
All right. We're going to put up a new poll here in a second. In the meantime, though, what do we have happening on Giant Bomb? There's a travel log where Dan went to Belgium with Jake Decker. That's up now. You should all watch that. We did a couple of quick looks, right? We got a quick look at Double Dragon, a bunch of other stuff. Viewfinder. Yes, that's up. And then yesterday we had a new episode of Four Swords Fiesta where we all made each other very mad, and it's important to watch that. And then today, Blight Club is back. Of course, I'm taking the day off. Bat Grub is coming in instead.
Right.
I'm gonna let him come now. I can't be in the same room as that guy.
No.
But he'll be here playing through Batman Dark Tomorrow, a game I keep forgetting the name of because it's just a terrible name.
It's cuffing season, baby.
So we're gonna continue the cuff count. I will get that set up actually so that we can have an on-screen cuff counter, bat cuff counter. So look out for that. That's gonna be happening immediately.
No, you could probably set up a shortcut in OBS to just like you hit a thing and it's an incremental.
I could probably do that. I think for today I'm gonna just set it up in Stream Elements and let one of those guys just handle it. But yes, we'll figure it out.
Also, shouts out to Lucy and Tam that are out down at San Diego Comic-Con right now. If you're heading to the show, make sure to say hi to them, but keep your distance because Tam does not accept hugs. Also, I think they have a new episode of Audio Logs dropping with what's his face, Sam Lake.
Oh, really? Fantastic.
Yeah,
that's very cool. I'm going to check that out. All right, new poll. Have you avoided Blizzard games because they have not been on Steam? Yes or no? Simple, easy. Answer it on youtube.com/@giantbomb. There's a community tab there. You can vote there. Yeah. You can put that in there as well as one of the options if you want. Yeah.
Oh, too late.
No problem. All right, Jan. I think we're good now. Thanks so much for hanging out with me today and talking about video games, man. You know I appreciate it.
I appreciate you, Grubb.
And thank you all for watching. You're the best audience in gaming. Until next time, have a good one. Take care of yourself, and goodbye.